And guys, now we have our second esteemed, excellent speaker all the way from Abuja, Nigeria, Atinuke. She is Chief Learning Officer and Managing Director of Stance Consultancy. And during the course of her presentation, during the course of her interaction with you, you will get to know many more aspects of her beautiful journey with excellence. She is going to talk about a wonderful topic. And though all those who are excited, let me see some hearts for Tinuke. Over to you, Tinuke. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I am super excited to be here. And this is what I love to do most, learning. Yes, learning. In this session, I'm going to have an opportunity to share with you how learning has taken my life from zero to something. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to, first of all, say thank you to SK Consultancy. That's to Renko Kanka. And then I'm going to say thank you to Nazreen Ejna and to Anup Tawar. These are my friends from India. Also, I'll get an opportunity to share with you how I am even in this space at all. It's also something that we're going to talk about. Yes, so as I said, I am so excited to be here. And have I been seriously impacted today by the last message? Absolutely. Absolutely. What is possible for you right now? What can you do with what you have right now? Knowing fully well that there is no time in life that we can have any perfect situation to make things happen. I'm inspired already. And I'm going to go into my topic, and you permit me to share my screen. Yes, I love to use my screen and use some images so that I'll get into the flow. Yes, so I'm talking about next level thinking and how do you reinvent yourself and take charge. Now, it is not news anymore that the world is going through so many shiftings in its landscape. Are you talking about global economics? Are you talking about geopolitical wars? Are you talking about climate challenges? There is almost no angle you look at that you do not find a challenge that the world is trying to grapple with today. And when you think about this, you'd find out that when you live in a world where things don't seem to be together, you must be in charge. You must be in control. Okay. And one of the things I often like to say is that the only thing within your control may be your mind at the end of the day. And once you can control your mind, you can get things moving in the directions that you want. Okay. So this is why we're talking about thinking. All right. So here we're looking at something that says below the water level and above the water level. When you're below the water level, really what you're doing is surviving. You're trying to make ends meet. You're not really fulfilled, okay? Sometimes you're battling with a career you may not be happy with. And sometimes you're saying, I've come this far. Should I change my career path? Or I've put in so much into this business. Should I just go on with it, even though I'm not so fulfilled in it? But I'm trying to show you here that you can thrive no matter what's going on, okay? And thriving does not happen by accident, just like excellence would not happen by accident. If you're not constantly thinking about how to take your life or your career or your business to the next level, you almost cannot make it to the next level. And this is why people get stuck on what we call status quo. Status quo would mean that you're just stuck on the same level. Nothing new is happening. You've lost your enthusiasm. And sometimes you almost don't want to get out of bed. Nobody wants to be there. Okay? So how do we thrive? As I said, next level thinking. And what's next level thinking? It is dissatisfaction with status quo. Do you know that the excellence you're clapping for right now can become obsolete just tomorrow morning? Or sometimes you've gone to invest in yourself, you've gone to take a course, maybe you spend 2 years or 3 years getting a PhD or a master's in business administration. And as you're coming out, you want to clap for yourself and say, wow, I've done something great. Yes, you have done something great. But you know that that's not the end. It may just be the beginning of the new things that you want to do. Because having an MBA or having a PhD in themselves do not ensure that you're going to live a fulfilled life, right? So when I say dissatisfaction with status quo, I also want to clarify that I'm not talking about discontentment here. Because some people would say, oh, if I'm never satisfied, then that means my life will just not be meaningful. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm only trying to say that the only way you can avoid getting complacent is to always think about what to do next. Okay? And that's also the only way to stay relevant. I remember walking into an office. I work as an organizational development consultant. I walked into an office and I was having a chat with some people who were trying to solve some problems. And some people said, wow, we love everything you're talking about. Our boss here used to be very intelligent. What do you think about that statement? He used to be intelligent and he's still sitting there, right? So a lot of things have happened and he has not updated himself, right? And when this happens, you cannot be relevant in your workplace. You cannot be relevant in your business space. So when you keep thinking next level, it's easier for you, as I said, to stay relevant and avoid complacency. But also, as I said, that's the way to thrive. Okay. And did I remember to tell you that thriving is not about having a perfect life? No, that's not what it's about. It's not about accumulation of wealth. It is about being fulfilled. As our last speaker said, it's about maximizing the opportunities that you have. In the next 15 minutes, in the next 20 minutes, in the next 3 days, what do you have in your hand that you can turn into something, okay, that will make you happy? All right, so let's just do a very short exercise right now. I want you to take a moment to think. Think about your career, think about your business. If you're a professional or you have a business that you run, or if you have a relationship, okay, that matters to you, what would the next level of that thing you're doing look like for you? What would it look like for you? Okay, imagine you're a medical doctor and well, yes, you've gone to school, you've graduated, you're able to attend to your patients, they're not complaining. If you do that for the next 3 years, it becomes monotonous. It gets to a point where what used to excite you suddenly doesn't excite you anymore. Okay? Or sometimes you have a business, maybe you have a consultancy, and you've consulted on a certain level for about a decade. It gets to a point where you lose your joy. Okay, this thing used to excite you, but that enthusiasm suddenly is no longer there. That's a signal to you that you need to take what you're doing to another level. Okay. You may even be in a relationship and maybe you're married to someone, you have a spouse, or you have some very close friends. Yes, you've been together for a long time, but within you, you know that you can take that relationship to another level where you're thinking together, visioning together. Paint a picture in your mind of what you want the next level to look like for you. When you've done that, please let me see a show of hand. Okay, if I see a show of hand, I would know that, yes, you've thought about something. After this session, we are still going to go back to these exercises, but because of time, I just want you to at least have a picture. And I'm going to come back to that picture a few slides from now. Anup, do you have a picture in your mind of what you want the next level to look like? Absolutely. That means you came with that picture to this class, Anup. You didn't form it right now. All right. Okay, so I want to believe that one way or the other, at least you've pictured something in your mind. And I will tell you something about visualization also. You know, they say that when you cannot see something happen in your mind, you almost cannot make it happen. And I told you that I was going to share with you my story of how I dreamt to have a consulting business that is well established nationally and globally recognized. That was my dream. Okay, that was what I wanted the next level to be for me. I was coming from a background of software engineering where I spent most of my time behind the desk, writing codes as a programmer, not really interacting with people. But here I had this dream of doing something completely different. Now, one of the things I did was to cut out pictures from magazines and put on my vision board. And I kept looking at those pictures. I said, someday soon, I'm going to stand before politicians and senior executives, and I'll be training them. Ask me, what was I thinking? That was my dream. That was what I wanted to do. But I didn't have anything that looked like it. Okay, so that meant I had a journey to take. What I want to do now is to share with you what my struggles were. Do you think I struggled? As a very introverted person who was perfectly suited for the role I was in, here I wanted to stand before people and connect with people. I did struggle. Okay, so what did I struggle with? The first thing I struggled with was dressing up. I didn't like to dress up. I didn't like to make up. If I wake up in the morning and you leave me, I just want to be the way I am and have my day run itself. Right? Dressing up, as mundane as it may sound to you, was a major challenge for me. Okay? I also did not like to show up. As I told you, I didn't like to socialize. So I didn't want to be in meetings. I didn't want to find myself on the spot anywhere. How was I to grow a business? And the last thing I struggled with was speaking up. I didn't like to speak up. If I go into a meeting, I just want to be silent and stay in a corner. I didn't want to be noticed. Now, I wanted to remain who I was, yet move into my next level. How many of you are thinking that I had a lot of struggles already? Or that was really a difficult task? But I'm going to share with you 3 ideas that helped me to break out of my introverted nature and become someone who could socialize, who learned to speak confidently. If you put me in front of 1 billion people today, I would speak confidently. But that wasn't me before. And today, I love to dress up. I love to dress well, right? And also, as the owner of my company, I am the chief marketing officer of my company. I had to redefine what marketing means so I could be comfortable in it. So I'll share with you, as I said. But before we go there, let me ask you, thinking about my own struggles, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, the next level that you pictured, are there roles you have to fit into to make that dream come true? What are the roles you have to fit into? Because the battle is between who you were before and who you have to become. And if you remain who you are, there is no going forward. Right? So the question here is, what role or what roles do you have to fit into to make your dreams come true? You identify roles and you go ahead to identify the growth path. How will you grow into that person who can sit confidently or comfortably in those roles? The easier you can do this, the faster your success will be. Imagine you're running a business that requires a lot of strategic thinking, and you don't have any clue about what strategy is. If you pick yourself and go enroll in a course that would give you a lot of knowledge in strategic thinking, suddenly you can fit into that role, and what you're doing becomes easier. Or imagine that you run a business that requires that you interface a lot with your clients and manage difficult people, and you lack emotional intelligence. Do you know that if you go and pursue learning in emotional intelligence, you can better fit into that role, and the easier that job would be for you? So I want to believe that you've written something down, identifying the role that will take you to your next level, and asking yourself, how well can I fit into these roles? I remember that my very early days of public speaking, if I held the microphone, it would vibrate. Not because the microphone was vibrating, but I was the person who was vibrating because I was so nervous. And it was so bad sometimes I would hold my dress just to, have some confidence. And when I watched those videos, I said, no, these things do not look like the pictures or the videos of a managing director, a chief executive officer. I needed to develop my executive presence. So when I walk into organizations and I have to make presentations, I could do that confidently. So what did I do? The 3 ideas that I'll share with you about what I did. The first thing was to develop strong values. Yes, we live in a very complex world, and sometimes people can have opportunities for you, but they tell you, compromise your values first before I give you this, okay? And that will make you think you're succeeding faster. So I had to settle and make up my mind. What are my values going to be? Never will I get a training opportunity and I wouldn't put the value in it, okay? No matter how much I'm paid. The moment I accept it, I put my best into it so that that excellence that we spoke about a few minutes ago can always be there. Strong values, they take you further. They give you sustainable success, okay? And also lifelong learning. This is why I appreciate SK Consultancy for what's going on here today. Lifelong learning. And then networking, connecting with people. Nobody succeeds alone. I'm going to take each of these points one after the other, minding not to take or waste your time. So when we talk about strong values, I got this from Mind Tools. It says your values are the beliefs and principles, okay, that you believe are important in the way that you live and work. They should determine your priorities and guide your decisions and the way you act towards others. When the things that you do and the way that you behave match your values, life is usually good. Now, this is thriving, okay? When you say life is good, that means, yes, you don't have a perfect life, but you're happy and satisfied with your life, okay? So take away from this place that your values should determine your priorities. If someone had just the next 6 months to live, what would they do with that time? Suddenly different priorities show up, don't they? And we don't need to have that diagnosis that gives us 6 months. You can wake up and tell yourself, what do I want to live the rest of my life doing? That helps you to get your priorities right. But let's move ahead and still talking about values and why they really matter so much. If I told you to pick an apple, which one would you pick? Can anyone choose for me? Definitely, most definitely, you're going to pick a healthy apple, because if you put this apple right here into your system, things will not go well. Now, the same way you cannot put something bad into your body system and expect things to go well, it's the same way you cannot pick bad values, okay, in your business and expect things to go well. So the first thing you want to settle is, what would be my principles? What would be my values? And it's so important that we recognize, all right, that, as I said before, how to live your life is totally within your control. You're not under any pressure. If you don't want to be, you don't have to please people. You don't have to acquire things you don't have the money for. You can wake up and decide, this is what I want to do with my life, and you get doing that. And that's what we call the power of choice. Let me share a little with you about Steve Jobs. I know we know Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, these two guys who founded Apple. Back in the 70s, when they were teenagers, they used to hack into people's phones, okay, in the neighborhood. They just enjoyed doing it. It wasn't legal. As a matter of fact, some of their friends who got caught went to prison. And then, do you know that after some years, when they kept doing that, they said, for us to be able to do this, there is something, we have some skill, we have some expertise. Why can't we use this expertise for something good? And that was how they started to discuss on how to build, phones of themselves. And then what I'm trying to say as I'm sharing this is, it does not even matter where you're coming from. Maybe you've done things wrongly up until now. But from this moment, you can make up your mind and make that choice that, hey, I am going to put away those behaviors because I want to maximize the rest of my life and use my opportunities well. Are you gaining anything from this? I'm enjoying it, and I don't want to be selfish. I want to be sure that this is working for you as well as it is working for me. Okay? Yes, I also talked about lifelong learning. Now, if you see the picture in the background, you can see a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. A lot of times when we don't subject ourselves to learning, we don't shape up our mindset. Learning shapes you up so you can fit into your roles perfectly. And it isn't just the learning that you do when you feel like it. It is that learning that becomes a part of you. When I tell people that I learn every day, they think it's a joke. I learn every day. I must learn something new every day. It may be a quote that I've never heard before. It may be a phrase from a book, but something new must come into my mind on a daily basis. And this is what lifelong learning is. For me, in my own business, learning makes the difference. I teach at every level. My core is leadership. I teach leaders of organizations, okay? And you cannot appear before these people telling them what they already know, right? So you must learn. They have problems. You want to solve problems for them. But even if you run a small business or you're not in the knowledge world like me, learning would always make the difference for you. But let me let you know also that when you learn, it generates new thinking. Your thinking changes when you learn. Okay? Someone was asking, when was the last time you changed your mind? That can let us know if you have one at all. Right? I saw that saying somewhere recently. They said the last time you change your mind will let us know if you even have a mind at all. Learning generates new thinking. And what does new thinking lead to? New action. So let me share with you something that happened. Someone came to attend a course in my company on emotional intelligence, and she was having a lot of challenges with her husband, her spouse. She had a trouble listening, okay? She always wanted things to be done in her own way, and she found it difficult to reason with her husband. So when she came and we were talking about listening, one of the things I told her was the fact that when people feel understood, it changes everything. And I advised her, I said, do not go into arguments with your husband. When he's talking, listen, not just to be quiet, but to really understand his point of view. Okay? So the first time she was going to try that out, she said she had almost started talking and then she remembered. So she kept quiet. Now, she had new learning that gave her new thinking that was leading to what? A new action. In just a few weeks, our relationship got transformed because she suddenly saw that the husband wasn't an enemy and they can now work better together. As I said, remember, when you don't learn, you won't think differently. And when you're not thinking differently, your actions would not be different. What did Albert Einstein say again about taking the same set of actions and expecting a different result? Did he call it insanity? Yes, I think he did. All right. What are you seeing in this picture? Some people can learn, some others cannot. For everything that you say, they have a counter argument. They say, oh, you're just saying this because you don't know how difficult the situation is. Or, oh, please, these motivational speakers, don't disturb me. I don't want to listen to anything. And that's what we call closed-mindedness. Also, for those of us who have careers or we are building a profession, the more you see yourself as an expert, the less open-minded you would be. When I work in organizations and they're trying to implement change initiatives, one of the biggest challenges we often encounter are people with a lot of expertise, a lot of experience, who become stumbling blocks to the change initiatives. They know so much. We've appreciated them over the years. But it has reached a point where they need to have different and new perspectives. I hope you got something from this. This is a really very important point of view. No matter how much you know, you must always be open-minded. Okay? All right. Networking. I told you I was going to share the story of how I got to be here. So I was attending a learning event organized in Nigeria, and Nazrin Ejna, all the way from India, was making a presentation, something on leadership. So because leadership is also one of my core areas, and her session was so impactful, as soon as she was done, I sent her an email. Hey, please, I would love to know more about the work that you do. Can we connect? I introduced myself, okay? And then she replied, and then we got talking, and that was it. Working from across the globe, across cultures, with different people, networking. Now, Anup is Nazrin's friend, and then someday Nazrin said, oh, I have a very close friend of mine who does similar things with you. I'm going to set up a Zoom meeting. Let's rub minds once in a while, let's discuss. And we did that. We became friends. We started to work together. When I had a program, I invited her to be on that program. And we've been looking forward to how we can work together. Networking. Remember I told you that I struggled with showing up. I didn't have a problem learning. I could stay in my house all day and learn. But I stayed in this little corner of my room and nobody knew me. Nobody knew what I could do or how well I could do it. And I was broke. I didn't have money. I couldn't even pick my own bills in spite of what I knew. Is there any sense in that? Absolutely none. But when I started to socialize and connect with people and get into spaces where people who play my kind of role should be, I started to connect. And from that time, my bank account has not been empty. Don't ask me how much is in it, because I won't tell you. But I can tell you, yes, I'm fulfilled. and I'm thriving because I'm fulfilled. So that's networking for you. Connecting with other people, seeing things from different perspectives. Sometimes intentionally, you connect with people who see things strangely differently, so you can expand your thinking horizon. Okay? And I often say, the more relevantly connected you are, right, the easier your next level journey will get. The more relevantly, it isn't just about connecting to people, but are they of like minds? Do they do the kind of things that you're doing? Success will be faster when you connect. Now, connecting may be hard for some people. If you're coming from an introverted background like mine, you may say, this is a lot. I don't like to work with people. I don't like to partner. Yes, there may be challenges in partnering with people, but do you know that we know your maturity level by your ability to work with other people? If you can only deliver as an individual contributor, you're not as mature. But when you can work with other people, you can make greater things happen. And this is one of the things that Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talked about. I'm sure you've read this book. It talked about the maturity continuum, how we all move from being dependent on other people to being independent. And independence is something that we celebrate. Even our countries celebrate independence. But it doesn't end there. We must learn interdependence. We're not saying you're not capable. We're not saying you cannot do it alone. But can you synergize and collaborate with other people? If you're able to do this, the journey to the next level will be easier. I'm going to round up shortly. So I'm saying connect and collaborate. And as I said before, that determines how mature you are. This is my final point, and it's the most crucial point I'm going to make today. Are you still here with me? So one of the challenges that can make us not fit into other roles would be a limited self-definition. Sometimes we have put ourselves in a box. You have narrowly defined yourself. So when you want to move to another level and you're required to play other roles, you shrink because you're not used to those things. Okay? So I'm going to ask you, okay, that when you look in the mirror, who do you see? Who do you see when you look in the mirror? Who have you told yourself that you are? Remember that the stories we tell ourselves are our limitations. If you have told yourself, oh, I'm just an introvert, I just like to do my things quietly, I don't like noise, I don't want people around me, then you're already in a box. Have you narrowly defined yourself? Okay? Are there roles you can stretch into if you allowed yourself? The people who knew me before, when they see me today talking and making presentations, they can't just believe their eyes. I say, are you sure it's the same you? Because I was too shy to even have a one-on-one conversation with people. And someone looked at me someday and said, oh, you want to have an organizational development consulting firm? I said, yes, that's what I love to do. He said, I'm sorry, you can't do it. It's not people like you who do it. He told me that based on the me that he knew, but could there be a different me? And I'm asking you that same question this morning, evening, night, anywhere you are. Could there be a different you that can fill a role, that can make a difference and make impact in our world today? I'll close with this story. I got it from a book titled Adaptive Leadership. So I'll just read out the narration, but I'm sure you get what the story is about. Ron once worked with a woman who needed crutches to move around. She had lived with the identity of cripple her whole life, a role that had left her, as well as her brother, deeply ashamed. Although she adamantly preferred the term disabled, The crippled identity cast a shadow on her sense of what? Self. And in some ways, our entire life. There are some things that you can pick from here before we even move on. Sometimes people are ashamed of what they've been through. They're ashamed of their past. I always share proudly how at some point in my life, I dropped out of school and I was roaming about on the street and I didn't have a life direction. If I couldn't come out of that shame, I wouldn't be where I am today. Okay? Also, the second thing I want to say about this passage here is this. Your sense of self, your self-concept has a lot to do with how you live your life, because that's the identity that you give yourself. Permit me to continue. So eventually, a considerable amount of structured self-reflection caused her to begin expanding her definition of herself to include qualities that had nothing to do with the crippled identity, such as strong woman, beautiful woman, empathetic observer, enormously competent. Also, let me ask you, are there things about yourself that you're too familiar with that you don't even value? Or are you too focused on that thing that you don't have going for you? And I'll conclude on this part. As she expanded that definition, she began to see her brother's shame as his problem and not hers. This is a very high level of emotional intelligence, okay? For you to be aware that you're carrying a burden that is not yours. And seeing herself in this more complex way gave her the confidence to change careers and imagine a new set of possibilities for herself. Now, this is the biggest lesson that I want us to take away from here today. Are there new possibilities for you? Could there be new possibilities for you? Are there new roles that you can stretch into? What would be your next level? And always remember that you own the narrative. And just like that woman, you can change it. I used to say, oh, I'm an introvert, I don't like to socialize, but I changed it. Okay, now I love to meet people. I removed myself from that box. So, next level thinking. What have I discussed with you today? The first thing I told you is that the next level thinking is about being dissatisfied with status quo, and that you should never get complacent. Always think about what you can do next and how you can maximize your opportunities. I also told you that if you don't have a picture of what that next level is, it will become really difficult. Have you seen some people who spend 5, 10, 15 years on a particular spot? It is because they don't envision themselves in another place. Okay? We have also talked about the fact that once you identify your next level, you must identify the roles that you have to fit in so that you can move into that next level. And then I shared my struggles with you, how it was hard for me to dress up, to show up, and to speak up. Okay? And I used learning. I used having strong values. And I used collaboration and networking to get myself out of that rut. And I'm where I am today. I want to stop here. I'm not sure if I've overshot my time. And when I take questions, am I allowed to take questions now, or should I just do my conclusion?
Yes, yes. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask her. She'll be very happy to answer.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And this was a fantastic, super fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed and I deeply loved the way you presented it, the entire journey, entire story. And I would just like to reaffirm that our strong values align, the way we see the world align. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for presenting it so graciously, so nicely. And it is only appropriate that I also recognize the presence of Nasreen here. Nasreen ma'am is Managing Director and CEO of ICE Consultancy, and she is instrumental in connecting us. She is instrumental in getting this collaboration through. So thank you so much, Nasreen, for creating this opportunity for the global collaboration. And Tinuke, we are so looking forward to host you at the SK Consultancy headquarters in Goa whenever you come to India. We are so looking forward to have you here and be part of this wonderful community that thrives on the core values that you said. Have the strong values, build the connections, do the networking, and keep learning continuously. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If there are no questions,
If there are no questions, I think your presentation was such a beautiful presentation that everyone got it.
I hope it got recorded. So let me leave you with this. Keep your body healthy, clean and healthy, keep your soul pure, and your mind positive. Okay? I have a couple of colleagues who are battling life-threatening sicknesses right now. Unfortunately, we lost one of them last week. And one of them, when we had paid a visit, she's bedridden, she cannot get up, she cannot go to the bathroom without help. She made a statement that left a strong mark in my heart. She said, "My greatest ambition right now is to go to the bathroom without support." In that position, her greatest ambition is to go to the bathroom without support. And when I left there, I asked myself, what do I have going for me? How am I using it? How am I maximizing it? That's the only thing I can do. I cannot directly affect their condition, but I can ensure that I live my life to the fullest, making impact to the best of my ability. So I'll say thank you again for having me and making this a possibility. Thank you so much.